Hi, I'm Dana Schwartz, and this is Rise or Die, the official companion podcast for Peacock's original series, Those About to Die. On this podcast, I go behind the scenes with the show's cast and creators to learn how they brought their brutal vision of Rome to life. I talked to acclaimed director and executive producer Roland Emmerich.
When I saw the first race, I was like giddy.
Actor Ewan Ryan.
For an actor, that's a dream, although you do get a lot of sand in your sandals.
And so many more.
You helped summon those ghosts back onto that stage.
Every day when I went to set, I was giggling about what I saw.
I think it's going to be a breathtaking thing.
People will freak out.
Rise or Die launches on July 18th. Watch or listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the small town of Chinook, where faith runs deep and secrets run deeper. In this new thriller, religion and crime collide when a gruesome murder rocks the isolated Montana community. Everyone is quick to point their fingers at a drug-addicted teenager, but local deputy Ruth Vogel isn't convinced. She suspects connections to a powerful religious group. Enter federal agent V.B. Laureau, who has been investigating a local church for possible criminal activity. The pair form an unlikely partnership to catch the killer, unearthing secrets that leave Ruth torn between her duty to the law, her religious convictions, and her very own family. But something more sinister than murder is afoot, and someone is watching Ruth. Chinook, starring Kelly Marie Tran and Sanaa Lathan. Listen to Chinook wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, and welcome to this very special mailbag episode of Buffering the Vampire Slayer, a podcast where we are totally reading your emails and responding to them.
Yeah.
I'm Jenny Owen Youngs.
Oh my gosh, and I'm totally Kristen Russo.
Yes.
And this week we are discussing Mailbag episode Mailbag. Written and directed by Mailbag.
And originally aired on Mailbag.
Yes.
Yes.
It starts to fall apart, I guess, but thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah.
So this is really exciting. As you all or many of you know, we normally do mailbag episodes for our Patreon supporters at the $10 level or higher. And we took September off, and we're going to be coming back hot into your earbuds on October 3rd.
Hot into your earbuds.
Yeah, that's right. But before we do that, we thought it would be nice to give a little to the people mailbag episode. And boy, do we have some really fun emails from all of you.
I can't wait to experience all of them for the first time right now. Kristen organizes them.
I believe that somebody actually in one of the emails references you not reading the email. So it's really becoming a thing for everyone, Jenny.
Listen, everybody has their strengths. Everybody has their place in this world. Mm-hmm. And mine is not reading the emails before we tape the mailbag episodes.
Which has its ups and downs too, because one of the positives
element of surprise.
Precisely. And the first email that I have actually, I'm excited about two emails for the element of surprise for Jenny. One comes later, but the first one I'm actually pretty excited about too. I don't think that I told you about this, Jenny. This email comes from Emma. And Emma said, "You posted on Facebook the other day about who would be an ideal guest to get on the podcast, and quite a few people suggested Juliet Landau. This brought back a memory I had of attending a con some years ago where she was one of the guests. She was incredible. She came onto the stage to rapturous applause, as you can imagine, but she just stood there at the edge of the stage, staring out into the audience, not saying a word. A hush fell over the audience as we wondered what was going on. And then she started swaying and she said, 'Look, Spike, look at all the people.'"
Oh my God.
Can you even? The email continues. Everyone in the audience collectively gasped and then started cheering. A seriously hair-raising moment, and one that still gives me goosebumps when I think about it.
I just got goosebumps and the hair on the back of my neck stood up.
Right? It's pretty
Very effective, Juliet.
I know.
Thank
so,
you, Emma.
And we're going to see Juliet in London when we're in London for the Vampire Ball at the end of November, beginning of December. So I'm just like pretty stoked to find out what kind of antics she might be up to when we are there in person. And will we get to play her Drusilla jingle for her? Like what is going to happen? Right?
Let it be so. Okay, next up, we've got an email from an anonymous, semi-anonymous person who is a writer on the upcoming Netflix series She-Ra. I don't know if any of you watched She-Ra as a child, but I certainly did.
Is that how you say She-Ra?
She-Ra.
You say the "ra" so in a emphasis that I don't recognize.
Later, I know that we have an email from a person named Shira, Shira. So I'm like really going out of my way to pronounce them differently. So She-Ra, this is specifically the Princess of Power.
Yes.
That She-Ra.
Yes.
So this writer appropriately writes, big buffering fan over here, and I just wanted to let you know how much your work has been helping me. I write for the upcoming She-Ra reboot for Netflix, and I've been sending some of the songs from the season 3 album around to the rest of the team for inspiration. Without giving too much away, because I think you should watch our series, it's literally just a pack of princesses of all shapes and sizes beating the shit out of robots and the patriarchy. Sounds amazing.
Uh-huh.
We have a few characters with complicated relationships, including one reminiscent of Buffy and Faith. I don't know what you could be referencing here. And I've been listening nonstop to enemies and consequences to get me in the right mindset. But here's hoping everyone on our show can avoid falling out of any windows onto trucks.
Isn't this so fun?
That sounds amazing. I was already excited to watch this show, and now I'm real pumped.
I love when like art begets art begets art begets art. You know what I mean? It's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a television show. Then Kristen and Jenny made a podcast and wrote some songs. And then now somebody is listening to those songs to help inspire them for creation of new characters on a new television show. I just love it. I think
pretty
it's
sick.
Right?
Yeah, that's so awesome.
And then
Thank you for letting us know. That rules.
Yeah. And like those complicated relationship princesses are going to be like inspiring like some 8-year-old somewhere. And it's going to be like their root for later when they create some like new series in 20 years. You know, it's just like fucking cool. It's fucking cool.
Wow. Yes. Yes. Complicated relationship princesses. That sounds like a reality TV show, actually. Okay, our next email comes from Matt, who writes, with regards to the news that the Buffy reboot will be a continuation, I am hoping that we get 2 gay dads and a female watcher.
I'm here for that, right? I'm here for that.
I'm here for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also hoping Spike becomes human so he could pop up and have a reason for his slight change in appearance. Would you want to see cameos from the old cast or leave it as its own thing?
Yeah, what do you think, Jenny? Do you have thoughts on this?
I think a cameo in a reboot could be like a very, very, very special thing, but it has to be exactly right. And I don't know like what precisely that is, but it's definitely like a 1 episode kind of like maybe meaningful, but not like overtly meaningful character appearance.
Right.
You know, some random magic shop owner who bumps into one of the new characters and like inadvertently gives them exactly the information that they need at exactly the right time. Something like that I would be down for. But not like Sarah Michelle Gellar is a watcher that, you know, is in a bunch of episodes in a row and is not at all Buffy.
Right.
That feels weird.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Oh my God. Imagine they put Sarah Michelle Gellar in the show, but she didn't play Buffy. That would be the most hilarious choice of all time.
Oh my
They're
God.
like, they'll get it. I'm here for cameos. And I agree. I think they obviously need to be done the right way. But I do think that part of anyone who says they don't want any cameos, I think needs to like re-examine their feelings, because I think that we all want to have like little morsels of the thing that we love and this new thing. And we're afraid. I think a lot of us are afraid. We don't want to have characters resurface, characters who we love and who we're attached to, and find that they've resurfaced and we don't identify with them, or we don't think that they're the same as they once were, and it feels ruined. And like, I totally get that fear. But I think that if it is done properly, I will squeal with cameos. Squeal. Are you kidding me? Eliza Dushku appears on that screen. I don't even care if it's bad. I will squeal. I will squeal. So
yeah, just do a good job, show makers. Please.
Yes. That is all we can ask for. So thank you, Matt, for writing in with that question. I want to just take a little sidebar here for a tiny little email from Heather. And I shared this on social media, so this might not be news to some of you, but I think to many of you it will be. Heather wrote in after listening to the live taping of Beer Bad and said, I just wanted to tell you, I'm very disappointed that you didn't refer to the caveman college dudes as bro-magnons. So... Heather, I thought your joke was on point enough to be called into a main feed episode for all of us to laugh over.
Yeah. Well played.
Yeah. Jenny, here comes my email that I'm really excited to read to you. You might have an inkling of who might be do you have an idea of like who might be the subject of this email that I'm excited to read to you?
My God. If it's about Marc Blucas, I'm going to die.
Oh my God, it is. Okay. So Valerie Ann from New York City, who I know, we know and love Valerie Ann. Valerie Ann wrote into us with a story for you, Jenny. I'm
ready for it.
I was listening to the most recent Mailbag episode and I heard your call for Marc Blucas stories and I realized this opportunity might never come again, but it's the perfect time to tell my Marc Blucas story, a story I love but rarely get a chance to tell, so thank you. And here we go. I went to college at NYU, whose campus, a term I use extremely loosely, is generally accepted to be where the largest collection of NYU buildings happen to be, around the Washington Square Park area. But since it's not where all of the buildings are by a long shot, there were NYU buses that acted as free shuttles for students to take them to and from their far-flung dorms. One day, I was standing at the bus stop, minding my own business, when I heard someone say a sentence that included Marc Blucas. Now, at the time, it still wasn't strictly cool to admit you loved Buffy. Hell, maybe it still isn't, but I no longer care. So it wasn't every day that I found a fellow Scooby in the wild. My head whipped around, and when the girl who said his name found recognition in my eyes, she ditched her blank-faced friends to tell me the news instead. Marc Blucas was filming a movie on the very next block at this very moment. As I looked with wide eyes in the direction she had pointed, she goes, "Should we go see if we can see him?" And I barely said yes before we were darting across the street toward the set. When we got there, we stood on the corner and did a sweep, ready to have to squint to see a shape that maybe was the man we knew as Riley, when instead we realized that the towering, broad-shouldered, bright-eyed man was standing right there. No more than 3 feet away, watching us seek him out with an amused smirk. He closed the distance between us with one easy step and held out his hand. "Hi, I'm Marc," he said.
Oh my God, Marc.
Knowing we knew, but also knowing he had to coax our own introductions out of our slack-jawed mouths.
Oh my God.
We spent the next few minutes talking about what he was filming. It was The Killing Floor. But then the wildest thing happened. He started asking us questions about what our majors were, how we liked living in New York, etc.
Oh my God, Marc.
To my 19-year-old self, this was the most kind and heroic thing a famous person could do. Anyway, all this to say, I would totally join that Girls Who Hate Riley But Love Marc Blucas group, though admittedly I didn't hate Riley until I was older. So Jenny, that one's for you.
We're going to need to stop recording so I can go breathe into a paper bag for a little while.
Oh my God, do you have just like a little stack of paper bags that say Marc Blucas in case of emergency? In case of Marc Blucas emergency.
Hell yeah. Somebody get me those bags, please.
Oh, wow. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your wow thunder there, Jenny.
No. Wow is a phrase it's a fair use. It's for everyone. It's not just for me.
For the people.
I'm just spreading it, you know?
Oh, goodness.
Wow, I don't know how I'm going to possibly ever read another email out loud, but I'm going to try right now after that. So Nina writes in the scene with Xander and Giles in Xander's basement, you mentioned that Xander's mom was acting out of character. This is true, but I believe she is acting out of character for a reason. Think about it. She's married to a major douchebag who treats her like crap, and Xander brings home his hot watcher friend who is just the right age for an underappreciated wife to appreciate. Of course she offers to make them fruit punch. This observation brought to you by a woman who is probably right around the same age as Xander's mom. Nice. Mrs. Harris is like, hello, British daddy.
Oh, wow. So you just wanted to get a daddy in there?
Now it's all I'm trying to do is get a daddy in everywhere.
Yes. You've seen how the masses respond to us saying daddy. So now you're really going for
They
it.
love it. I'm just trying to give the people what they want.
I loved this email. And also, Nina was not the only one to write in with this observation. There were several human beings who wrote in and they were like, excuse me, we know why. We know why she's making that fruit punch. So sorry for missing that,
We're
everyone.
like, why would a woman make a man fruit punch? What a wild thing to happen. How can we possibly explain this? The writers must have been high that day.
Everyone was like, they're a little too queer. They need a little help.
Yeah, a little too queer.
They need a little help to remember that heterosexuality is still actually a thing. Here for the spin-off fanfic of Xander's mom and Giles with fruit punch. Very here for it.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my God. Speaking of, I didn't even do this. So I stagger the emails. I try to make them go in a nice order, try to drop the Marc Blucas story in at the right moment, etc. I completely didn't do this fruit punch stack here, but this is a fruit punch stack. So we just went from Xander's mom making fruit punch to an email from Molly who says, hello, Kristen, or is Jenny actually reading emails yet?
Never,
dig.
Molly. Absolutely never.
Molly says, oh my God, I'm so excited to contribute something. I love, love, love everything about buffering. Here you go. Fruit punch mouth is a thing. The medical diagnosis of angular cheilitis, I don't know.
I would say cheilitis.
Cheilitis. The medical diagnosis of angular cheilitis, per Wikipedia, is, quote, inflammation of one or both corners of the mouth, end quote, caused by malnutrition or anemia, otherwise known as being a starving vampire, or by misaligned teeth, ahem, vamp fangs. Right? Molly does admit that they are picking and choosing the applicable bits, but still, angular cheilitis is more common in the elderly, or you might say one of the old ones. It can also be a sign. It can also be a sign of sensitivity to sun exposure, like a vampire. Zinc deficiency, which also causes alopecia and dermatitis, or B vitamin deficiencies with dementia as another comorbidity. Comorbidity is a word? Okay.
Whoa. Apparently.
Thus, crazy old, bald, rashy, fangy, hungry vampire equals angular cheilitis.
Okay.
So I'm really here for Molly's diagnosis of fruit punch. I mean, I don't like talking about fruit punch mouth or thinking about it, but in this context,
It's nice to know that it has roots in the real world,
right?
As well as in the Buffyverse.
I agree, 100%. So thank you, Molly. And Molly also said as a tag at the end, this could be something that we mention when we meet Mark Metcalf in London. We can let
Nice. Yeah.
we can let him know.
Let's grill him.
Yeah.
Pardon me, sir. Were you aware?
Were you aware of angular cheilitis? we
Were
just,
you was really getting into the skin of someone who was suffering from angular cheilitis part of your method when you were preparing for the role of the master?
or we just bring him a T-shirt that says angular cheilitis.
Yeah, I'm sure he's just dying for that.
Do you think? I forgot that we have a little jingle even for him. Fruit punch mouth.
Oh yeah.
Fruit punch mouth.
Punch mouth.
And
Fruit punch mouth.
You got fruit punch mouth.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, our next email comes from someone who gave their initials as HP, and I can only assume that this is an email from Harry Potter,
100%.
who wishes to remain anonymous, so everybody be cool. HP writes, Teutonic. We all remember way back when Xander and then Buffy each individually referred to Riley as Teutonic.
Yes, and Kristen then incorrectly defined the word. We remember it. Do we remember it? We remember it.
Well, I think we looked it up, and the dictionary definition that we located was...
I think I just probably misread. I think that I think the archaic thing that I read was probably italicized and meant you know what I mean? I think that I just... I think I was sloppy and I'm admitting it here. I'm owning
How
my
Could you?
Every once in a while, very out of character for me, but every once in a while, I am in a rush. I do something sloppily, and this is what I get, Jenny. This is what I get.
Well, you're very busy. You have to read all the emails. I'm just lounging about.
Yeah. God damn it. Yeah, you look up Teutonic.
All right. Well, HP is here to save us and writes, Teutonic means relating to the Teutons, or more basically, something that seems German. Xander was just dragging Riley for his Aryan good looks, which is pretty accurate, come to think of it.
Yeah. And so, and HP, Harry Potter wasn't the only one. I just, Harry Potter.
A lot of people wrote in about this, but then
ton.
where does it come from then that Buffy says, Buffy says, that is so Teutonic when they're having like that outdoor argument where they're both trying to get the other one to go away.
Right.
And she says, you think boys can take care of themselves and girls need help? And he says, yes. And she says, that is so Teutonic.
Right. Well, you know what, Jenny? I'm not going to be lazy anymore. I'm going to look it up right now.
Oh my gosh. What a great idea.
Okay, well,
I'll just vamp while you do that.
Oh, yeah?
How appropriate.
Go ahead and vamp.
Ha. Dictionary corner.
It just says Teutonic, relating to the Teutons, and then number 2, it says denoting the Germanic branch of the Indo-European language family, and above that in italics it says archaic.
Oh, it's the archaic. Okay.
Yes,
right.
You see what I've done. You see what I've done.
But then, okay, so then I feel like, what is this Buffy just using a word that she heard Xander, like she interpreted it as one thing and then just like said it to Riley.
Okay.
Context.
Here, digging a little deeper, and by that I mean I don't have my microfiche out. I just went to Wikipedia. It does say a Germanic tribe or Celtic tribe mentioned by Greek and Roman authors, and then below that it says Furor Teutonicus, a Latin phrase referring to the proverbial ferocity of the Teutons. So maybe there's a little bit more built into that term, right? A German military order called the Teutonic Knights. So maybe not just German, maybe not just that blonde-haired, blue-eyed situation, but also maybe something, because he does something like, what does he do? Like he's going to like go storm off and like do something to save her or whatever. So maybe there's like a little bit of the ferocity, a little bit of like the military connotation in there. Or maybe Buffy's just doing what you said and using the word again because she wants to use it because she likes words.
I'm willing to accept any of these answers, but the thing I'm most willing to do is to move on and never think about the word Teutonic again.
I know, except for, what we've done is we have now activated the masses.
We've opened the gates to the hell of Teutonia.
Pandora's Teutonic box has been opened.
Yeah. Check out my new metal band, Pandora's Teutonic box. Hell yeah.
Okay, so a short note from Catherine, but I really felt it was important to share this with you, Jenny. Catherine says you'll get halfway through the series when you get to season 4, episode 16. Who are you? So
my God, it's all downhill from there, Kristen.
I know. Catherine seemed to be like excited to share this with us, but I was like terrified. I was like, what do you mean? Like, we can't be halfway through. That means it's half. Like, I was so half empty, like glass half empty reading this. I was like, no.
Well, we could probably, once we finish season 7, we could probably just keep making mailbags for the foreseeable future.
just like every mailbag is more discussion about Teutons and Teutonic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure.
And more Marc Blucas stories, please.
I'm sure it'll do great. I'm sure people will love that.
Buffering the mailbag.
So I'm going to go to an email now. I'm going to take a sharp turn, a hard corner, an email from Melanie. And I want to say that Melanie, I actually have a little bit of an email from Olivia here. We'll see how much I pull in from these two, but there were a lot of emails that came in to us and technically to Joanna and I, but I wanted to, bring it here to the mailbag, and Jenny, you could weigh in here about our discussion of Oz in the episode Wild at Heart. So I'm going to read Melanie's and then talk a little bit about some of the others, but they were basically, I felt like Melanie's kind of almost hit on a lot of the points that came through. Melanie said, since, like Willow, I too know the love of a taciturn man, I think I have a little insight into Oz and his, quote, out of character behavior. When Oz is in a healthy place, he's able to be assertive about his needs. This is easier when he understands and accepts his feelings. But as an introvert, when he is uncomfortable with his feelings and identity, he won't be open about them, even with those closest to him, because he needs to figure things out himself before he can or will talk about them with someone. This explains, right? This explains why he feels like he needs to leave and go be away from people to figure things out. A healthier Oz would have been able to talk to Willow, but this Oz is ripped apart, not so much by his attraction to Veruca, but more by the allure of his identity as a werewolf, which he's never really dealt with, but has constantly been plaguing him, at least since he agreed that his ability to smell Willow was bothering him in Lover's Walk. I would think that his inability to show emotion just before he drives out of town is very in character for someone who is not comfortable expressing it. The fact that he had so much trouble with the keys and getting the car to start are the important nonverbal cues that say everything about his toxic state of mind and how upset he is. I completely bought it as Oz, his more frustrating side that won't let him express things. I think in short, he just realized he can't ignore the werewolf thing anymore, and he has more than he can handle. And this is how a taciturn person in those circumstances absolutely would act. What do you think, Jenny?
I can't possibly relate to any of that.
You were just quiet. You were trying to get your keys in the ignition.
Exactly. But I was having a hard time.
I thought this was really beautiful, beautifully said. And, a lot of you wrote in and sort of said like, hey, maybe it's taking the easy way out to say this is out of character for Oz to like not have told Willow, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that Joanna and I, and Jenny, I know you heard the episode, like I think Joanna and I did have room for some of this with Oz and just felt like we wanted a little bit more of an arc with it. But I do think that, we could have given a little bit more room for this observation, which I think is pretty spot on. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is like a real bullseye. Plenty of stuff in here that's worth considering. And also, I mean, as somebody who can't possibly relate to Oz's methods of dealing with things at all.
Sure, right.
I would also maybe highlight that one thing that Oz is like really, really sure of, aside from like, okay, wow, he's like really having to reckon with the fact that like he is a wolf all the time and like that requires more than he's been giving to it in order for him to like maybe potentially be at peace with it in some way or figure out how to live like a quote normal life at some point. He also like knows that like whatever is going on with him right now, he is like hurting the person that he cares about the most so much.
Yeah.
And like I think it makes a lot of sense as well that he would just be like the kindest thing I can do to Willow right now is like to get the fuck away from her.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Totally. And I appreciate all of the notes that you sent in because Oz is such a loved character and I want to make sure that we give Oz all the space that Oz deserves in how he processes this and not just, I do think Joanna and I did give some space, but I think we could have perhaps given more. And I think that this is something to think about. And I think Joanna and I wondered, Jenny, how the episode would have been had you and I discussed it, because I think Joanna and I don't know Joanna like super, super well, but I get the sense that Joanna and I are both a little bit more extroverted in this way. I mean, I actually am a pretty major introvert in a lot of ways, but in this way of processing feelings, speaking feelings as we have them, I think we might be on similar pages there, or at least a little bit closer together than Jenny, than you and I are. And so I think your perspective, or the perspective of anyone who might process things more similarly to Oz, would have been really cool for that episode. But now you get it here.
Yes. Thank God we have a mailbag. Support for today's episode comes from OneSkin. And if you have sensitive skin, you're going to want to hear about their scientifically proven topical supplements. Free from over 1,500 chemicals and preservatives that can make skin red, irritated, or itchy, their products are safe for sensitive skin. It's just one of the reasons they've earned the skin-safe seal of approval.
They've also earned the Jenny Owen Youngs and Kristen Russo seal of approval, if I do say so myself, Jenny.
I couldn't agree more. I've been using OneSkin for a few months, and after a few weeks, I remember it like it was yesterday. I texted Kristen, and I was like, maybe she's born with it. I looked in the mirror that morning and was like, oh. Things are happening, and I am happy.
I have used a million billion skin products, and I did not think that I was going to switch off of the skin like lotion, the moisturizer that I used and the under eye cream that I use, because I have used them for a little while and I really like them. And I've switched completely, which is a pretty big deal. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. Get started today with 15% off using code BUFFERING at oneskin.co. That's 15% off at oneskin.co with code BUFFERING. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, and if you can, please tell them that we sent you.
As a podcast network, our focus is bringing you shows you love to listen to. But we also sell merch related to those shows. And partnering with Shopify has made that both possible and simple for us to do. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor adventures, Shopify helps you sell everywhere because they've got you covered, from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system. What's so fantastic about Shopify is how, no matter how big you want to grow, they provide everything you need to get control of your business so you can take it to the next level. Businesses that grow, grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm. That's all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/realm.
Okay, wow, I get to read something again. Very exciting. We've got this email from Emily, and here's what Emily has to say. I've loved all the songs you've released, but sometimes I've sat back and wondered if there was a particular artist or genre of music you were inspired by and how you use that to shape each song. Like, I get that the song for Living Conditions was inspired by Believe. Totally, 100%. But for the other songs, would you share examples of where the musical inspiration came from? Also, are the songs written acoustically first or on piano, or does it depend on the song? Just wondering how that whole process works, I guess. I'm not at all creative, but I am fascinated by the creative process behind songwriting and song creation. Oh my gosh, my favorite question of all time. Okay, so yes, absolutely. Living Conditions, we were like, the number one thing we have to accomplish with this episode is making like a song that kind of sounds like Believe, about how much Kathy sucks.
Totally.
So that was like totally right on. Another like very direct example of the content of the episode impacting the sort of like genre of the song that we were going for is in The Wish. That's the episode where Cordelia wishes Buffy never came to Sunnydale. So in that reality, Buffy is a vampire slayer in Cleveland. And so we wrote that song from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, native of Cleveland's perspective. And we chose to go in a sort of like Buddy Holly, like early rock and roll type of bounce, because Cleveland is widely regarded as the home, the birthplace of rock and roll. So we went in that direction sonically, and then shaped the lyric, of course, around the idea that Buffy is a lonely vampire slayer living in Cleveland. And we, went ahead and like added some specific Cleveland landmarks to like really get it in there for whatever percentage of our listenership is in Cleveland.
Yeah, let's play a little bit of that so they can hear that now that you just described it.
Up in the cemetery every evening, I've been slaying some vampires in Cleveland. Yeah, shout if you feel how I'm feeling. Just a vampire slayer in Cleveland. Vampire slayer in Cleveland. Never had much to believe in. No friends and no family in Cleveland. Just a whole lot of death I've been dealing to the vampires living in Cleveland. Vampire slayer in Cleveland.
Then there's a song like Halloween, where we didn't know exactly what we wanted to do, but Kristen came up with the chorus lyric of It's the Big Halloween Switcheroo.
Actually,
poet laureate of Buffering the Vampire Slayer.
I would like to pat myself on the back because so I don't write the melodies at all. I don't know how to do that. I can contribute in saying, Jenny, I want the song to sound like this, or I want it to be really sparse, or I want it to be this or that. And I really enjoy being on the production end. And Jenny and I, depending on the song, will write lyrics together. Sometimes, especially if it's a sad song, I know where Jenny's strengths are. So I'm like, hey, this is a heart wrencher. Why don't you go sit in the corner and write some words?
Yeah.
But we usually write the lyrics together for a lot of the other songs. But Halloween is the only song that I wrote the melody for. So it's a beloved favorite of many young children for this reason. Yes, continue with your Halloween story, Jenny. I just really wanted to get my credit for where it's due.
So Kristen was like, I think the chorus should be, it's the big Halloween switcheroo. And I was like, okay, I can build from there. That's an interesting starting point. And we ended up not related really to like what's happening in the episode, but just more related to that it was like a fun kind of like Monster of the Week type episode. Monster of the Week episodes are like more likely to sound fun in one way or another. So for this song, we thought it would be a real hoot. To do sort of like a classic old school Johnny Cash style, 1-5-1-5-1-5, bum 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 bum, where the bass is just doing that the whole time, and the verses are just kind of like Halloween. It's supposed to be a slow night. Giles promised there'd be no night for vamp activity or whatever. To like make it like really talky and like really lean into that direction. I mean that's Johnny Cash is one of my favorite artists. Kristen loves him as well. So that was like a really fun thing that wasn't necessarily tied to exactly something, in the plot.
Halloween, it's supposed to be a slow night. Giles promised it'd be no night for vamp activity. But somebody had a differing opinion. Giannis's devoted minion came to Sunny D and brought some anarchy. It's the big Halloween switcheroo. It's the big Halloween switcheroo. You don't even know who you're gonna be. It depends where you got your costume to see. It's a big Halloween switcheroo.
Then you have a song like Go Fish, where we built the song around like a little riff that has like kind of like a beachy feel. Just because like so much of that, that episode is entirely centered around these sort of like aquatic beasts.
Yeah, what did we do? We pulled like Beach Boy tunes for that one. I don't remember Go Fish. I should play it so that I remember it.
Yeah. Play it and you'll hear how surfy it is.
Something fishy has been going on, and I don't know what to do. 'Cause all the swim team boys are turning into creatures from the Black Lagoon.
This is like a tiny little like middle section song exploder buffering.
We just want to be like Rishi.
I know.
He's so cool.
Rishi. And I think like the only other thing that I want to say, and Jenny, you might have more to say too, but is that then there are certain songs that are really driven. We actually just finished doing, or Jenny just finished doing the buffering concert right before we recorded this mailbag episode, and somebody was saying, I love the songs where the lyrics sort of universally apply, which are of course not really the Monster of the Week episodes. Usually those are the bigger episodes, and in a lot of those, Prophecy Girl of course comes to mind, but there's also the song, I believe, was it Consequences? That was the song that we sort of like shaped around the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a few others. Prophecy Girl, Jenny and I think many of you know this, but Prophecy Girl, Jenny and I wrote sitting in the studio together, like what, like a week, 2 weeks. It was like just like
it was right
after the election. And so that song for us was like, and Jenny, maybe this is how you feel when you write songs. I don't know. This is the first time I've ever done this, but it was really like a grieving process for us and like an empowerment process for us. Like we were doing something for each other as we created that song. That song is piano, very few are. And I think that it just was like something that we felt needed to do the thing that piano can do to your heart and mind.
Fire rising in my bones, I can free us from his hold, from the fear that keeps us bound. I am standing now, I know what will come, what will come. If our world belongs to them, what will come, what will come. I just keep fighting, just keep fighting. That's what I'm supposed to do.
That song, you know, is really politically rooted, as is Consequences and a handful of others.
And then we have, at this point, I think we have like sort of two suites of songs, the larger being the really personal songs that sort of like really center on the dynamic between Buffy and Angel over the course of, you know, 3 seasons, like Angel and Surprise, and what is, of course, the one that comes right after Surprise?
Innocence.
Yes, Innocence, Becoming. Oof.
Yeah.
I'm upsetting myself just thinking about it.
Yeah, and Jenny wrote right at the jump, right? Angel is where the Angel theme, you brought the Angel theme in, and there are several of those songs that bring that theme back in really
that involve the theme.
In really different ways. And not to like spoil anything, but I think there might be an episode, you know, coming up pretty soon where,
oh my gosh, what could happen?
Where that theme might just be involved again. And
Goodness.
we're like, maybe something really special is going to happen with the song,
oh
Jenny.
Gosh.
I don't know what it's going to be.
Can't wait to find out what that is.
I can't wait either. Wow, what a great question from, of course, that was a great question from Emily. This is Emily, who we know and love, Jenny. This is...
old Emily Brackett McLongstreet.
No. Oh my God, I forgot there's 2 Emmys. Yes. Emily.
The other Emily.
Floridian Emily.
Backpatch Emily.
Backpatch Emily, exactly.
Hell yeah.
All right, I'm gonna take us, if you feel satisfied with that song exploder buffering moment. Jenny.
Yeah. Yes, Jesus, please shut me up about it.
I'm gonna take us to a little email from Melanie. Melanie writes in, Jenny, the story you were talking about, of course, is Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Match Girl. The match girl tries to sell matches even though it's freezing, because if she goes home without selling matches, her father will beat her. She goes into a corner and has a beautiful dream that she's at a warm feast. Turns out she died. I can't. Like, I picked, because a lot of people wrote in to say, like, oh, Jenny.
I saw a lot of this on Twitter.
But it was.
I feel like I could have a whole podcast that's just me being like, yeah, I remember this one story that it's about this thing, and it's maybe about like this, and then maybe either this happens or this happens, and then like and then like have one person. I feel like based on our listenership, the average person will probably know what I'm talking about and be able to correct me.
Right. I just like, I want everyone to know that I chose to read Melanie's specifically because it was so rough. It was such a rough summary that it made me laugh so hard. Like this will happen.
The match girl tries to sell matches even though it's freezing, because if she goes home without selling any matches, her father will beat her. She goes into a corner and has a beautiful dream that she's at a warm feast. Turns out she died. I mean, that's terrible. But the delivery, the way that it's spaced on the page is like,
yeah,
so
Melanie.
rough.
It's like a little bit of poetry from Melanie here, because it's like a paragraph that ends with she's at a warm feast, and then it's like enter by itself. Turns out she died. Enter before the email continues. So just like Melanie, I see you. I see your humor. You know, I get you trying to take this ridiculously depressing and horrific story.
Also, what the fuck is wrong with Hans Christian Andersen,
dude? Right? Whew. That guy needs to hear a couple of upbeat buffering songs, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Get a little tap going in those feet, Hans.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so next up we've got She-Ra. Not to be confused with She-Ra, the Princess of Power. This is She-Ra with an I.
Yes. Who may also be a
I'm sure is very
power.
powerful.
Yeah.
But I'm not to say. She-Ra writes, I only listen to a handful of podcasts, and of that handful, both Buffering the Vampire Slayer and Still Buffering reigns supreme in my book. Why, thank you. Still Buffering shares a component of your name, but I assure you, they are in no way the enemy.
So
This is in reference to us recently referring to Still Buffering as our Nemesis podcast.
As a joke.
As a joke. Of course as a joke. Oh my goodness. But in the interest of the bit, I'm just going to keep going with this email, but
Sure.
Don't worry. Everything is cool. Okay, so 3 sisters, 2 in their 30s and 1 a teenager. Whoa, that's a spread. Go through the ups and downs of teen life from times past and present. Not only are 2/3 of the sisters queer women, they also reference Buffy consistently, from faith impersonations, cosplay reminiscing, and once more with feeling sing-along moments. Buffy is a component that bridges the gap between the ages. Aww. Also, they're hella rad feminist women who I think y'all would have a lot in common with, more than you'd expect. All I ask is that you call off the feud and maybe together embrace the beauty of Buffy, 90s nostalgia, and queerness together. I suggest you multiply Buffy to the power of 2 and maybe one day come together and do guest spots in each other's shows. Aren't 2 Slayers better than 1? And that's what I've always said. The potential for rad feminist collaboration seems endless.
Yeah.
This rocks. What a cool email. Just to be very, very, very clear. We are very not in a feud.
We're not, but I do think it's a fun bit, and I'm hoping that the gals from Still Buffering, should we ever get to share space, will play along with us.
Yes, that would be delightful.
Right? And yeah, we're going to be at PodCon in Seattle in January, and they'll be there too. So we don't even know how it works, but perhaps the forces will come together and allow us to get a little collab there, or at least high five and take a Still Buffering the Vampire Slayer crossover picture.
Yes.
Right? So we'll see. We will see.
Let it be.
So, okay, this next email is from Eric. Now, I'm only going to read the beginning, but then I'm going to just describe to you sort of what happens. This is a long email, and it cracked me the fuck.
What happens in the email?
Okay. You'll see. So Eric writes in, "Hi, Jenny and Kristen. I know we're past this point in the podcast, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. I love your show more than I ever thought I could love a podcast about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is so personally important to me. So thanks. Here is my email." I know. Thank you, Eric. "Here is my email on, in bold, why Cordelia would totally get a reference to Zeppo." Okay, so because in the Zeppo, in case you haven't listened to that episode, we're like, would Cordelia really know like the Marx brothers? What are they called? Is that what they're called?
Yeah. Groucho Marx.
Yeah, Groucho
Zeppo Marx. Harpo Marx.
The Marx brothers. Great. So we were like, they wouldn't get it. So Eric is here to correct us, saying, here's the explanation. The Chase family aspires to be Sunnydale royalty, but they're the working rich. Old money wouldn't get wiped out by tax evasion. Good point. So they affect an old money adherence to class and presentation. They don't just watch movies, they watch classics. And they watch PBS, which aired Marx Brothers movies constantly in the 80s and the 90s. As a self-proclaimed, quote, daddy's little princess, end quote, I can easily see a younger Cordelia sitting at his side watching old black and white comedies. Would she ever actually reference the fourth Marx brother? Only in the one instance where she does, to sting Xander in his own language.
Wow.
So a brilliant like analysis, I thought. And then what's crazy to me is that Eric is like, the next part of the email is like, but would anyone else? And then Eric goes on to explain how literally Buffy and Joyce is one, Willow and Xander. There's a paragraph on Angel. There's a paragraph on Anya, Drusilla, Faith, Giles, Harmony, Jenny Calendar, Jonathan, Joyce's lovers.
Oh my
Oz,
God.
Riley, Spike, Wesley, and Mayor Wilkins all get an analysis of if they would or would not know the reference.
I just want to mention that Joyce's lovers, the spread includes Ted the robot, Pat from Book Club, Giles, and Buffy's dad.
Wow.
Amazing.
Also, Drusilla.
Amazing.
So like most of them are like Giles, to give you an example, Giles says, nope, as an angry young fuck the world mystic, Rupert had no use for old American comedies. As a stuffy pretentious librarian in an esoteric guild, Rupert had no use for American comedies, right? So nailed it. They just like all of them are great, but I just want you to know that Drusilla's entry was like a musical note emoji, like those were the bookends, and in between the musical note emojis, it just says, the fairies whisper an elegant tale of decay on my fingertips and we're dancing. That was
Oh my God.
Drusilla's whole reference to the Zepp. Like that was the whole thing.
Oh my God, wait, can I read one more of these that I think is pretty amazing?
Yes.
Riley. No, whenever Riley's off screen, he doesn't exist. If he never explicitly states that he has done something or we don't see him do it, we can assume he's either standing perfectly still in a box or maybe doing push-ups.
Oh, God. Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So I'll put this whole analysis up on Patreon just for everyone. You know, you don't have to be a patron of ours. I'll just put the whole thing up there so you can just read the whole thing. It's so funny. It really is just hilarious. So Eric, thank you.
Also, the list is alphabetical.
Thank you.
I love it so much.
Oh, it's really good. So you can find our Patreon, bufferingthevampireslayer.com. Just click on Patreon and it'll be one of the public posts. There aren't too many of them. So you can see it that way and read all of Eric's descriptions of this thing. It's so brilliant, Eric. Oh, wonderful.
Let's see. The next note we have is from Marie Eve, who writes, I have a quick question regarding the last episode you posted. You said that there is another episode of Buffy that is as controversial or even more so than the Thanksgiving one. My curiosity is killing me, and I need to know. I'm pretty sure you didn't get into details because it's an upcoming episode, so if you wish to avoid spoilers, please just mention the season and number of the episode. I've been a huge Buffy fan for so long, watched the series about 10 times, and have a few ideas of the one you might be talking about, but I'm not sure.
Yes, and I've put it there for you, Jenny, in the document so you could read the season and episode number. That was not from Marie Eve, that's from Kristen.
Got it. Okay, cool. So Marie Eve, the answer to your question, no looking ahead, first-time viewers.
Yes.
Is season 6, episode 19.
Yeah.
Now that I'm committing to this, I realize there may be other also very controversial episodes yet to come, but that's the big banger that sticks out in my mind. We are terrified of that episode.
Yeah, Jenny and I
so
have been
scared.
looking down the barrel at season 6, episode 19, like, cool, how are we gonna, great, okay. So that was the one that we were talking about when we were in Pangs, saying like, okay, this is pretty controversial, and there's another in a very different way. Anyway, wow, we're rounding the bend here, actually. Jenny, this is the last email I have in the little stack here. I know, Jenny.
I never want to stop hanging out.
I know. For those of you who are not our patrons, Jenny, especially when we do videos, Jenny and I do Q&A videos in addition to mailbag. In addition to mailbag episodes for our $10 patrons. And whenever we do the videos, especially, I'm like, okay, and that's all. And Jenny's like, no, come on. We're hanging out with our friends. I don't want to stop. So
Christian's really good at structure, and I'm really good at, just balls to the wall enthusiasm.
Yeah. Jenny is Mr. Peanut Butter through and through.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought I would, and I want to also encourage everyone, we do really love doing mailbag episodes. And I want to let you know, if you're not a patron of ours, please still send us emails, because even though the mailbag episodes only go to our $10 patrons, if we answer your email, even if you're not a patron, we email back every person whose email we put in an episode that's behind that paywall or whatever you want to call it, with the link, so that if we answer your email, you will get the link to the episode, patron or not, you'll be able to hear it.
Yes.
So please write us emails. We love reading. Well, I love reading them, and Jenny loves reading the ones I select for her to read.
Yes.
And I do pass along the ones that are for Jenny specifically, so don't panic.
Yes, thank you.
But I also want to just say, if you're writing us emails, please let us know where you're from. A few of you did, but not a lot, so I didn't put them in here. But I really, really, really love, I think we both do, saying, Hannah from Michigan or whatever, just to like kind of give us that like little feeling of, oh, we're all over the place and we are all together and talking about Buffy, and it's really fun. So let us know where you're from when you write in. And also, if you want to let us know your pronouns, we will use them. And if you don't let us know your pronouns, then we do our best to stay on the they path over here. Anyhow, I am going to bring us to our final email from Hannah. And I don't think that Hannah is from Michigan. I just said that. I just made that up. But if I nailed it, that's because I'm a witch. Okay, so Hannah writes in, I just wanted to ask, how has watching Buffy changed for you since watching it the first time or years ago? Do you find yourself noticing or reacting to things completely differently than previous viewings? Also, without any spoilers, who's your all-time favorite character or arc? So Jenny, I'll let you take a stab at this one first.
So I would say that this is definitely my, I don't know, most like in tune with what might be problematic viewing of this show. So I definitely like have eyes out for the patriarchy, eyes out for thoughtless and unfortunate character moments and dialogue. And I feel like I also like have the best sort of like, I'm like keeping track more, I think, of like emotional cause and effect.
Yeah. Whereas
as a younger viewer, I think I like didn't put stuff together as well as I do now in terms of like the larger theme of an episode. I might just have been like very in the moment of like the action and not figured out like, oh, here's like the thread that kind of goes through everybody's story in this episode and like the lesson it's teaching. And my favorite character is Anya.
and you've been pretty consistent with your favorite character. Is that true, Jenny? Like Anya has always been your choice?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
I ask that because, I'm having this experience. I'm a major Spike fan, and when we started the series, I was like, Spike is my favorite character. Now, very differently from Jenny, as many of you already know, I have only seen the series one time, and actually this was my very first viewing of season 1. I had never seen season 1 apart from like probably little episodes in the 90s incidentally, and so I came into the series like, yeah, my favorite character is Spike, and like, et cetera, but my views on that are changing. My love for Spike is not decreasing, but I think that like Jenny said, sort of like looking at like problematic things and looking at this and looking at that, and also like, I don't know. I think my feeling toward badass women has changed even from my first viewing. What was that, Jenny? Maybe 7 years ago. So Anya has been just really like, every time I'm talking about like, oh, my favorite character is Spike, there's like this little voice in the back of my head that's like, but really, I think maybe you mean Anya. And I feel hesitant. I feel like I'm coming out for the first time in this mailbag episode. So please welcome me with kind, compassionate, open arms, because I felt like, well, but I can't choose Anya because Jenny has chosen Anya, and like that's silly if we have like the same favorite character or whatever. But I just want to say that Anya is like really climbing up the ranks for me for a lot of reasons. And I think that parallels sort of how I feel about watching this show. Again, for me, just for the second time. But the first time I watched the show, it was just like, I was watching it because Jenny told me to watch it. I got really invested, but it was like, your first experience of the show is so different than your second experience, even if you're not doing a deep dive with a podcast. This is probably the most unique second viewing of the series that anyone has ever had, where I'm watching the series a second time, but I'm watching the episodes 2, 3, sometimes 4 times. And I'm, in the email inbox. So I'm also like getting all of these perspectives from all of you. And then we're discussing those, and we get to talk with people like Rishi and like Joanna and Kate Leth, and just like I've never analyzed a television show like this before in my life, and it's been a very fun experience. It's been really cool to like appreciate the characters, and like you said, Jenny, some of the writing and the longer arcs and things like that as we go.
Yeah, and also I'll point out to you that your other favorite character, Cordelia,
yes, of course,
Spike, Spike and Anya all have something very magical in common, even though their reasons for that particular thing is different. All of them say whatever the hell they want to say, whenever the hell they want to say it. Cordelia says it because Cordelia is number one, and she thinks tact is just not saying true stuff. Spike says it because he's an asshole, which actually makes him sometimes hilarious and sometimes profound. Sometimes he's the person delivering news to characters that they can't get any other way because their friends care about them and don't want to hurt their feelings or whatever. And then Anya, because she doesn't understand humanity conceptually and therefore can't understand why. Like, think about how wild of a concept it is that we as a species have agreed sometimes you just don't say the true thing.
Right.
Or, you know, sometimes you keep things from people for like whatever reason. You know, like it's just wild when you think about it. That for like somebody coming from Anya's perspective of living 1,000 years as a vengeance demon, of course she's like, what are you doing?
Right.
Why would you do it any other way than this?
Exactly. And that's a really good point, Jenny. I think that is what they all share in common, and it's something that I gravitate toward in real life. I mean, that's why I love Cardi B so much, you know?
Yes, I do know.
Cardi B has similar, I don't know which line. I think she probably is most aligned with Cordelia in her reasoning, but maybe she's a former vengeance demon. What do I know, you know?
It's entirely possible. I'm not ruling it out.
I am ruling out her being an asshole, but I guess she could be an asshole. Maybe. But I think she just thinks she's number one and doesn't care for tact, and I'm here for it. So yeah, so I think we answered your question, Hannah. Jenny, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I'm good, I think.
All right. Well, I think we've done a mailbag. I think we've done it.
I think nobody could say we haven't.
Well, if they did, they'd be lying.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm Jenny Owen Youngs, and when I'm not watching Buffy and making this podcast with Kristen, I write songs. That's what I do. And you can learn more about me over at jennyowenyoungs.com/buffering. And I'll tell you what else. You can always give me a shout on Twitter at Jenny Owen Youngs.
You can, and I am Kristen Russo. You can find more about me and my work over on my website, KristenNoeline.com. That's KristinnNoeline. And since we don't get a song this week, why don't we just play my jingle?
Hell yeah.
Kristen with an I, Noeline.
You can go on over to that website and learn about the work that I do with LGBTQ young people and their families. Also, you can follow me using that handle on Twitter and on Instagram.
Buffering the Vampire Slayer is on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at BufferingCast, and you can email us, Kristen, at bufferingthevampireslayer@gmail.com.
Yes, and last but of course not least, you can support our work. You can support us by becoming a patron. At the $10 level, you'll get lots of these mailbag episodes, or at least lots more than you get in the main feed. You'll also get some Q&A videos, but there are other levels of giving. We just added a $25 level, and some of you are going to be getting some pretty cool exclusive merchandise in October, and there'll be more exclusive merchandise coming your way. Speaking of merchandise, you can also support us by going to our store. That's also on our website, bufferingthevampireslayer.com. Just click on shop and you will find a whole bunch of patriarchy smashing goodies. And of course, you know, if you don't want to support us financially or don't have the means to, that's totally chill. You can go on over to iTunes and rate and review us, or you can go on over to iTunes and rate and review our sister podcast, Angel on Top, and let us know how you feel about their podcast. If you don't know about that, I think you do. But just in case you don't know, Brittany, Ashley, and Laura Zach are now in tandem with us. We are every other week, and on our off weeks, you get an Angel on Top episode that corresponds to the episode of Angel that, goes with our Buffy episodes. So check that out if you have not, and rate and review them too.
All right. Is that everything? I
think we did it. And now, listen, for those of you who haven't heard a mailbag in a long time, we've sort of modified. We howl out, but we don't do a full howl because we reserve that for the main episodes. So we'll howl out now, but we're going to mailbag howl out, right, Jenny?
Yes, we are. Till next mail.
Ow.
Yeah.
Dana Schwartz, and this is Rise or Die, the official companion podcast for Peacock's original series, Those About to Die. On this podcast, I go behind the scenes with the show's cast and creators to learn how they brought their brutal vision of Rome to life.
Gosh, people will freak out.
Rise or Die launches on July 18th. Watch or listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Burntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I uncover the blasphemous truth of a plague-ridden world, that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Burntwine, coming January 2nd, wherever podcasts are available.